Can landlords prevent a fixed lease from becoming month-to-month? Imagine signing a lease and wondering if it will automatically turn into a month-to-month agreement once the fixed period ends. It's a common question among landlords and tenants alike. When a fixed-term lease expires, whether it shifts to a month-to-month tenancy depends on the lease details and local laws. Usually, if the tenant stays after the lease ends without signing a new agreement, the tenancy automatically becomes month-to-month by law. This is called a holdover tenancy. To stop this from happening, landlords can include specific clauses in the original lease. For example, they can add a lease expiration clause that states the lease ends on a certain date and that no renewal or extension will happen unless both parties agree. Clear language helps avoid confusion. Another option is requiring tenants to actively renew the lease. Landlords can set a deadline for renewal notices or applications, making it clear that the lease will not continue without a new signed agreement. This way, tenants know they need to take action if they want to stay. Proper notices are also important. If a landlord does not want the lease to turn into a month-to-month, they must give the tenant written notice before the lease ends. Usually, this notice period is between 30 and 60 days, depending on local laws. The notice should clearly state that the lease will not be renewed and that the tenant needs to vacate if they do not agree to new terms. Accepting rent after the lease ends without a new agreement can be seen as agreement to a month-to-month tenancy. To prevent this, landlords should refuse rent payments after the lease expires or clearly communicate that accepting rent does not mean the lease is renewed. Offering a new fixed-term lease before the current one ends is another way to keep the tenancy fixed. If the landlord provides a new lease for the tenant to sign, it prevents the automatic switch to a month-to-month arrangement. Managing rental properties with this in mind helps landlords keep control over their income and reduce the hassle of frequent tenant changes. Month-to-month leases are flexible but often lead to higher turnover and less predictable income. In the end, landlords cannot completely stop a fixed lease from becoming month-to-month if the tenant stays after the lease ends without a new agreement. But by including clear lease terms, giving proper notices, and communicating well, they can manage or prevent this transition. Knowing local laws and making sure lease documents are explicit are key steps to maintaining control over tenancy status after the fixed period.